So, guys,
Welcome.
welcome to this session. It's called Network Layers in Security. My name is Paula Januszkiewicz, and I am a woman in technology person myself. I'm also Polish, and I do some security assessments and stuff. So, very nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Marcus Murray. I'm team manager in TrueSec. I do a lot of things related to security. I live in Sweden. I don't think that's it, right?
That's it, right?
I'm a bad guy.
You're the bad guy. You know, to be honest, we're all geeks here, so the only way for a geek like me to ever get a real blonde to the ballroom would be to have her as a co-speaker in my session.
Yeah, well,
So
I won't
that's
date you otherwise, so.
So anyhow, the whole idea about this session is mainly to walk through the OSI model and look at the different layers of the model and see how we can either protect ourselves or find problems in these layers of the model that can affect us.
Yeah, we'll be talking about several layers in OSI ISO model. Actually, model is quite artificial, but if you're working in network infrastructure, probably use terms like third layer or second layer. So we'll be describing each of those layers, and we will show a couple of several fancy vulnerabilities.
Yes, it's kind of interesting. The layer is upside down, if you didn't notice. So we're actually going to start from the bottom and move to the top, because all the cool things are in the end.
If you are not familiar with this model, don't worry, because we have a smaller version or each slide, so we'll be mapping to it every time we will be presenting. Okay, so let's begin our presentation. First of all, let me tell you one thing. Like 20 years ago, who of you worked in IT 20 years ago? Put your hands up. Yeah, so we've got like 50%, so you're a young group of people. So you probably noticed that the fact that we relied on a network wasn't very strong, right? Not many computers were connected to the network, and nowadays civilization is based on the network and network security. So as you can see on the pictures, geeks will bring us down because more and more we rely on several security and network layers, and probably you've seen some situations like when the network was down, business was down. Have you happened to have such a situation? Yeah, exactly. So the more we rely, the more secure we should be here in the network infrastructure.
Yeah, so, I mean, the issue, if we look at the issue really, I think the main issue is that we are still relying on a protocol that is like more than 30 years old, and we are not really using all the measures we can to countermeasure the issues. So, there is one thing that we will learn from this session when we talk about the layers. One thing I want you to bring home, one thing that I think can give you value. And it's, if you think about it from a layer perspective, you have to have some kind of security in every layer, if you look at the CIA model, to prevent that we will mess with your access or accessibility. You have to have physical access, all kinds of security, to really have everything working and being accessible. But if you want confidentiality and integrity, you can implement it on one layer. If you do it well, it only needs one layer. So you have to really miss all these opportunities in every layer if you want to do bad confidentiality and bad integrity, if you think about it. So that explains why the model itself is an interesting place to use as your picture for how to think about this.
Okay, so what is this network security about? And first of all, let me bring you a small story about a Georgian woman who actually cut off the Algeria from the internet. Have you heard about this?
It was Armenia, by the way.
Armenia, sorry. Yes, that's true. Armenia. That's quite far. Not this Georgia, of course, the other Georgia.
Yeah. No, the cool thing was she was actually trying to make like $10 from stealing copper from cables.
And she was 75 years old.
So, I mean, the whole Armenian network, the whole country network, didn't really protect physical security. That's basically it. Because you could actually go to Georgia and tap the cable and put them off. It's pretty interesting.
So here we have physical layer with all things in it. I mean, cables, wireless access, and physical access to storage room. So the most common and the most vulnerable technique here, that's the wireless technology. So wireless is everywhere, and you can access it from everywhere, while if you have network cables, you can always cut it off. So every layer, every upper layer relies on the lower layer, and this is what we are going to show you.
Yeah, and we're starting basic here. But there are things that not everybody knows about, so we just want to point them out. One thing is that, yes, you can sniff fiber cabling. It only costs about $1,000 to buy the equipment.
You can buy it on eBay.
Yeah, it's called a micro-bend clamping device. And you will actually bend the cable, and you will have an optical photo detector. You can actually read the data off the cable, even though it's a fiber channel cable. And then you can turn it into raw data. And there is a countermeasure that you can actually buy a box that will detect the changes in light. So it will detect that somebody is currently bending the cable. So I'm not saying you should run home and buy this device, but it's an interesting race here between the potential attack and the fact that you can defend yourself if you think this could be a problem to your organization. If you were a military organization, this would be something that you have already. But there are things that if we know about them, we can make the right decisions.
This is what Marcus did in a hotel room.
Yeah, I'm not going to say where it was, but you know, the internet is pretty expensive sometimes, you know. They want like $10 a night or something. So I'm going to give you a fun tip. Just watch behind the TV. If there's a TP cable in there, you can probably just put your own... you shouldn't do this. This is theoretically. I never did it in real life. That's not my laptop. It looks the same. It's not the same one. So, but if you... When we didn't connect it. When we theoretically connected the cable, we didn't get an IP address, so it's what's kind of funny that the IP address was actually written on the TV set. So we just had to pick something from the last 2 octets. And then we could connect, and to our surprise, that was the internal network of the hotel chain. So that's physical access when it's at worst. So that was an intrusion to the internal network. We could browse also, hypothetically. So we're going to just show you some examples. Paul is going to do some wireless sniffing. Then we're going to move into another example later on.
So I'm running Backtrack. That's not actually Windows, right? But I consider Linux Backtrack as a very nice tool for wireless cracking. And I have here a plug-in USB, very tiny and beautiful wireless card that can inject packets. You can buy them. You can even probably get them for free. Maybe not on this conference, but somewhere. Okay, so what you see here is my monitoring interface that I've configured with Airmon NG. And now my network card is in the promiscuous mode, so I can listen and I can inject packets in the wireless network. So first of all, I'm going to show you what kind of wireless network do we have here. I will run Aerodump NG. And I will run it on my monitoring interface 0. So here you have networks available, and including the one I'm going to hack, that's TrueSec123. And as you can see, the authentication is pretty strong, but it doesn't matter. WPA, WPA2 can be cracked nowadays, so I'm just going to show you how to do this. I'm not encouraging you to do this on your neighbors, but at the end, I will show you that actually I did it, and it just happened. And I will show you the password. Okay, so here we have information about the wireless network. And as you can see, it's running on channel number 7. So it would be definitely better if we could type here channel. This is the parameter 7. And I would like to write it to, let's say, TrueSec file, because I would like to have the handshake. It's called four-way handshake. So when the host is authenticated to wireless network, I would like to have it captured and saved. So as you can see, my result is limited. And actually handshake, it's already there. This was pretty quick. But I would like to show you how to encourage, if you don't have the handshake, how to encourage hosts. This is this host physically running here, to be able to de-authenticate and authenticate again. Okay, so what information do we need? First of all, we need BSSID of the network. This will be this one, right? And we need to have an MAC address of the station that's authenticated to the network. So let me do this one more time. And probably the station will appear very soon. And if you cannot see the station as associated station on the printout, you need to wait for a while. Okay, probably it will appear very quickly.
It's a TrueSec network. I'm not sure you can hack it.
Yeah, actually, I can hack it. I've got the MAC address saved here, so yeah, I can hack it. The only thing you need to have is just to wait for a second. Okay, so I've got here the command that is already prepared. This is the MAC address of this workstation. So I'm going to play with network and send the authentication packages in the number of 10 to the access point that is here, as you can see. This was a TrueSec access point, and this is the MAC address of the client. So here you have the authentication packets being sent, and on my side, I can see that computer just disconnects from the wireless network. This is what you're going to see. So when we move here, you've got WPA handshake capture, and I would like to do this again. This is the computer, and as you can see, it's disconnecting and reconnecting automatically, which is quite comfortable if you are using Wi-Fi. Okay, perfect. WPA handshake, it's captured, so I can stop it now. And I will here move to my computer. Thank you, Marcus.
You're welcome, Paula. This is a nice date. How is it turning out for you?
Pretty good.
Thank you.
You're
so
not
far.
that bad as I thought.
I take that as an insult.
Okay. And I've got the capture file, so I use aircrack-ng with the dictionary I've got. Oh, TrueSec, and that's TrueSec 0102, 02.cap with WOLST. So I picked the network, so maybe TrueSec network, and then, because handshake was over there, I started cracking the network. For a normal PC, probably like for a regular laptop, it will take you till 5 days if you've got a good dictionary or if you have a good rainbow tables. But come on, let's pay for it and let's have it done. So we were doing a couple of hacking yesterday. I've got here TrueSec network that is being cracked for free. Please save the address. This is a free WPA cracking, and it will just happen. So you need to be very patient. And if you want to pay for it, that's WPA Cracker, very nice parrot, WPAcracker.com. And you just click run here, and this is the place in which you put the capture file, the one that I just grabbed. So
yeah, try it on yourself, give them your home address, and send it to them. Perfect.
And just to prove it, I've done it to my neighbors, and this is their password. Quite simple, right?
They're going to be waiting for you at the airport in Poland later.
Yeah, probably.
So, the data link layer, Paula. What do you have to say about the data link layer?
Data link layer, this is like a realm for MAC addresses, for VLANs, and also for several RRP packets. And in data link layer, we have totally no control. So this is not the layer we can put some security in it. And there are some countermeasures.
Yeah, this is a typical layer where we can actually stop the traffic on the network. If we start messing with ARP tables and stuff, we can make everything stop here. And this is a problem still today that is very common. But we have seen different countermeasures here, and some has been good and some has been bad. So we're actually going to demonstrate in real life one of the not so well working countermeasures for physical security. So the whole concept of 8021X, and this is the shadow host attack. Everybody has heard about it more or less, but I'm going to give you some more details and show it to you. I know that not everybody, but many people working in security. The whole idea, the concept here is to force the client to authenticate himself to the switch. So unless he is authenticated, he will not get a green light on the switch and network connectivity. And what you're using is a radio server that will hold the rules and see who is authorized to access the switch. He will, in his place, talk to a domain controller and make sure that the identity is correct. You can use passwords and you can use certificates. So certificate server is usually a part of this solution. You have computer certificates in your computers. So this is all fine until someday a hacker comes along. This is the hacker, by the way. I'm a security professional. And maybe the hacker brings out a small hub. And connects the hub. And then she will disconnect the client who is authenticated and connect it to the hub. This is like a story when I was small. And then he will disconnect, he will connect back to the switch. So what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen now? Speak it out loud, we all know this. It is going to re-authenticate, right? Do you think there will be a green light on the switch again? Yes. Do you know the difference between a hub and a switch? Yes, this is why you're in our session. You are intelligent people, we like that. So, next question, more tricky. What happens when the hacker puts a red cable into the hub and the same cable into the hacker machine?
Which is your machine.
Which is my machine, yeah. And I'm Paula, that's what I said in the beginning.
Exactly.
So, what is going to happen now? Yeah, tell me. Please, stand up by the mic, because nobody's going to hear you. This is actually worse than candy. They can sniff and intercept all the traffic. That's worth a few delicious Swedish candies. And if you don't get them all, it's for your friends. It's okay to jump down on the floor like, not really sophisticated people. It's okay. This is not a sophisticated session. So, let's see what happens. Of course, I can sniff the traffic. So if I would fire up Wireshark on this computer, I would see what's going on. This is on the real wired network. So sure, I can see stuff. And the only thing I'm really interested in is the MAC address. And the MAC address will come sooner or later whenever the client is connecting, because the MAC cache only lasts for 2 minutes. So he will have to announce his MAC address over and over again. I did already connect it. I don't need to prove to you that I can see the MAC address. It's here, it's everywhere here, okay?
It would be great to do the MAC address spoofing then.
Yes, so this is the issue right here. We have different scenarios here, and there's actually been different stories on what happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the authenticated computer, and we're just going to make sure that we can connect to the resource using this computer that is the real one that we are attacking right now. We're not attacking this guy, we're using his authenticated session. So just do a connect over the network. No, just open up start and try to connect to resource like 10.1.1.10. And it's going to come up. This is the domain controller in this domain. So nothing strange about this, because he is authenticated. So the question is, am I, as the hacker, going to be able to do the same thing just because I'm on the same hub? That's the question. So what do you think? You can just cry it out loud, yes or no? You say yes because you expect it to be yes. Can you explain why? Well, here it is. I'll show it to you. I'm going to try to do the same thing. 10.1.1.10. It's not working. No, it's not working. You know why? Because the MAC address is authenticated and I do not have the same MAC address. It's pretty simple. So I think many people here understand it, but we need to show it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an ipconfig. I'm actually going to do special ipconfig, because the real MAC address that is authenticated is this one. It ends with a 9. That's all you need to know. So if I do an ipconfig, and I'm going to do a special ipconfig because I got so many different connectors here, so this is only for visibility. I'm going to do some filtering. I have 0 in the end, so I'm not going to be able to connect. So let's just change this into something else, for example, 9. So I'm going to use the Macshift, which is a free-to-use tool. If you trust downloads from the internet, you will not do it after you've seen the end of this session, I promise you that. Oops, sorry. Paste. And I'm changing it. And hopefully, this can take some time sometimes. 10 at 1 at 1 at 10. I can now connect. So now I'm on the network. Now I can start brute forcing things and do things on the network. You know, I know all the domain admin accounts in the whole world anyway, so. But you can see I get it up. So this is how basic it is. And if you read the papers about this, they're stating some things that are interesting. They're saying that if you're on the network like this, and you're doing UDP, it's going to work just fine. And then they say, if you're doing TCP, it's not going to work because of the three-way handshake. Whenever the hacker sends a SYN, there will be a SYN-ACK back, and the other computer will send a reset because he did not initiate that traffic. Then they say, if he has a firewall, he will drop it. So if he has a firewall, I can do TCP too. In the real world, all I need is a different IP address because this is a layer 2 in the OSI model protection. So all I need is a different IP address. Nobody ever talks about this. That's why I want to do the demo. So as a hacker, let's give it the same MAC address and a different IP address. That's what I did. And you will be fully connected. So do not pay money for 802.1x on wired networks unless you want to use them for compliancy. It's not a security control that really works. It's a compliancy control if you want to help people to not put their computer in the wrong place. It's a different story.
While it's being sold as a security solution, right?
Yeah, the danger here is that I know a few years ago a lot of big companies made huge investments in this. That's why it's still worth mentioning.
Okay, network layer. So this is the layer that security starts from because we have something that is called IPsec. But first of all, let's talk about some issues, security issues related to ICMP traffic, for example. Network layer, here we've got ICMP, as I said. So what kind of bad things can you do with ICMP? Anybody? Yeah, yeah, exactly. So ICMP...
Can you repeat what he said? Because I didn't even hear it.
Tunneling?
Tunneling, wow.
Is it tunneling? Yes. Well, you can perform a tunneling of data in ICMP. It's called ICMP tunneling. And you can find several free tools that can do the tunneling of, let's say, HTTP traffic to ICMP. And this is a very good solution if you are working in, for example, corporation and you want to bypass security rules because ICMP is everywhere. Who denies ping? Come on, it's everywhere. So if you want to bypass some security HTTP-related rules, this would be the solution. Yep. Okay, so here we come with ICMP. Another thing is that we've got IP addressing here. So it's called IP spoofing, but it's nothing different like IP duplication. So probably you've happened to have a situation in which there is the same IP address in the network. This is the case. Okay, so our countermeasure here, that's IPsec, because on this level we don't have network authentication. So any computer can get to the network and I can maybe ping somebody on the network, do the small recognition, check what is in RP tables, and so on. So no logic, no control. It would be good to have some computer authenticated to the network. And this is our countermeasure. So, yeah, here we go with a small demo related to packet modification. And I will show you a very nice application. I like raccoons very much. I think they are very cute. So here you have a raccoon notepad in which you can do some notes, right? If you forget something, you can write it down and it can work for you as a task list. That's very cute. So I will publish it on my blog if you want it, just to type some simple task. But raccoon being used in a console becomes really evil. So here we've got our raccoon, and here we've got a file, let's say Google.txt, and here we have the Google address. Let's send some data to Google. But first of all, I will turn on Wireshark and perform some small monitoring. So it's becoming black, and I will put a filter on it and apply. And here we've got the message. Oh, wait a second. Oh, this would be better. That pop-ups. Yeah. As you can see, you can send data in ICMP packets. So ICMP it's not just alphabet, it's not just ping, and you can perform some, you can, as I said, send some data. So another solution, another countermeasure that we have, that's IPsec solution. IPsec configuration, it's pretty simple.
It's pretty simple.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple to implement something. Yes, it's very difficult to implement a complex IPsec solution, I tell you that.
So Windows Firewall with advanced security, you can create new rule, and actually it depends what you want to implement. It may be in GPO, so it may be on the side of the domain controller to implement domain isolation. You can implement it on two levels. First of all, computer or user authentication, and second thing, you can encrypt data that is inside IPsec traffic. So if we create, for example, server-to-server rule, it may be any address to any address. And this is very important. Request authentication for inbound and outbound connection. It means in practice that if you want to have IPsec communication with me, which may be encrypted or not, just tell me, and maybe we will establish something. Maybe. That's not mandatory. So if you will do this in your network straight away, let's say 70% will respond positively. Yes, I would like to encrypt traffic and talk to you. That's fine. That's half of the success. But if you want to be rude, maybe not rude, but quite cruel, if it's about the network access, you can configure require authentication. So if you cannot establish a traffic with the client computer, it just won't appear. So if I click next, I can have a computer certificate. This may be Kerberos based, or it may be also, for example, pre-shared key based. So if we type test here, this may work like this. And we will click next. It will be applied to, let's say, every network profile. I will type test and go to firewall. Here we've got connection security rules created. And when somebody will connect to us, you will see this in main mode and quick mode as a security association established to your own computer.
Yeah. And if I summarize a little bit about what Paula just said, there's one important thing to understand here. This is the first layer where you can actually make data travel. This is the first layer where you should actually care about whether or not somebody's using it for sending data. So that's a good feedback. This is also the first layer where you can actually implement real security, confidentiality, and integrity using IPsec the right way. So I will stress that. It's really important. Another thing in this layer that is important to understand, this is actually going to be maybe a scary demo. This is where you do routing and stuff. So did you hear about the IPv6 denial of service thing going on? How many of you got your laptops in your knee fired up already? Raise your hands.
Yeah.
Be honest, don't lie. If you want to, you can participate in this demo,
but
actually.
Before that, make sure that you will save your old documents. We promise you that your computer will freeze and you may lose all your data. After this, you need to do the restart, so we do not take the risk if something happens to your data.
So I'm going to show you some things, but if you want to participate, just fire up your laptop if you didn't already. We take no responsibility, and all you're going to do is connect to a network, a wireless network. That's scary itself, isn't it? So if you don't want to do it, you're really scared.
We haven't seen the case in which computer was totally physically broken, so...
Yet.
So
we're still trying to find one. So anyhow, the whole idea is that the hacker, in this case, he will announce routes. he will send out IPv6 router advertisements. And this works a little bit differently in the IPv6 world compared to the IPv4, because we are relying on somebody. If he sends out route information, he will actually be able to give us an IP address and a route, just like a DHCP server. This is more dynamic.
Okay, so if you want to participate, please connect to TrueSec123 network and authenticate with password TrueSec123.
That will be the only big bar here given out today. Anybody wants to participate? Hands up.
If you are broken, you will get the bar from Marcus.
Well, the red jacket there, whatever that is, cool.
Great.
This one is waiting for you. If your friends around you can prove that your computer was affected. So if you just turn on Task Manager and look at the processor. Or processor, sorry, we're in the States now. So, when we send them out, what's going to happen is basically that we're going to send out announcements, and after that, bad things are going to happen. So let's see if that works in the real world. And the interesting thing is that the only thing I'm really sending is router announcements. This is basically it. So to prove this to you, we're going to take a computer here, which is a target machine. And if you look at the CPU usage, this is the one we've been using before.
It will rise up. And it's just like this.
And if you look at his computer, if you connect to that network and you wait, it's going to be dead. And I don't know its patch level or anything, because there's no patch.
And I'm trying to move mouse here, but it's not just not working.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a chocolate bar, and I'm actually going to borrow his computer for a second to show everybody. Trust me, I'm okay. You got the USB stick assigned?
Here you have.
You can pass it around, put something in it. That's to prove to you that. Yeah, and this is, you're going to get an extra USB stick also for being so ballsy. So next time say yes when we're targeting you. Yeah, it's packaged.
Anybody has crashed a laptop? Only one person?
Yeah, only one is stupid, has the balls enough to, to do this. But this is a problem in the real world. And what's interesting about this problem is we can try to do an IP config on that guy. Let's try. It's going to take forever because the computer is highly unstable right now. As you can see, it's not even coming up. It's not operating. And this is this computer doesn't have any tasks. Imagine this is a web server that has something else to do at the same time. We're waiting for IP config right now.
It's quite long.
Yeah. So the problem here is that by the RFC design, you are supposed to listen to the router announcements, and you are supposed to act on those. So this is a problem. This is not something that you maybe should patch, because this is by design. There are settings you can play with to actually protect yourself from this. So we're not even going to spend more time on it. You can see it's died. So why is this important? For example, tomorrow I have a cloud session. What if your cloud provider does not protect from this? So somebody will just hire a cloud server and run this as a side channel attack. They can bring down a cloud. I'm not saying anybody did this, but I do see some downtime on clouds here and there. So I'm not stating anything. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just trying to make you aware of that these are the problems we have today sometimes in design. It's not really a Microsoft problem. It's how the RFC was made. There's a problem on the functionality in this layer. It's not even coming up. The IP config is... It is?
No, it's not. We will show you the result later on.
Hopefully, if it ever comes back. The crazy thing is that even though we stop sending routes, it will still be the same. Did you restart your computer, or is it still the same? You restart. You are a smart guy. You are not stupid. Very good. So...
There's a question.
A question, sure. This is an intro. Could you please step up to the mic?
Yeah.
I think that would be better for everybody. Are you trying to get hacked? Are you disappointed because you can't get a chocolate bar? Is that it?
Fine. My CPU is at 100, but it's still working fine.
Yeah. He is on the wireless network. His CPU is on 100, so he's affected, but it can still work. You have a pretty good machine there, but if you did something else that was important, you would be very, very annoyed.
Try to play some music.
Yeah. Yeah, or play a video from YouTube. I mean, you can do it yourself. We don't have to wait for you. It's okay. You are special and interesting, but this is not something for everybody. No worries. Yeah, this is one of the guys who knows the most about IPv6. So if you have any comments, you're going to play this out. Okay.
No. So tell them how many packets it takes to actually get it to the point where it's an issue.
We're sending a lot of packets here, but I have a friend, and he told me it only takes about like 10. 5 to 10, yeah. So it only takes
5 to 10 to slow your machine down. 200 packets, it's pretty much over.
Yeah. So that's an interesting story. This is a guy who speaks at IPv6 conferences, by the way. Just to mention him. So if you want to know something about IPv6, you go to him. If he can't answer, go to Hassan here. Just kidding. Just kidding. He thought it was funny. One guy down. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the transport layer. We got more layers to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Transport layer. This is one of the layers that actually, this is the first layer with some logic in it. Of course, except for UDP, that is not logical anyway. But we've got TCP. We can control on this layer traffic flow. For example, we can manage quality of service. We can play with data in packets. So everything that you play with in your normal work that is related to ports, it's just there.
Yeah. So this is not really, I mean, today, if you look at the TCP stack, for example, it is pretty hardened. We have had a lot of problems in the fact that you had weak sequencing in the TCP protocol, stuff like that. So previously, it was very vulnerable. Nowadays, the stack is hardened, so we don't see so many problems there anymore. On UDP, on the other hand, we have a connectionless protocol. So we are not really taking care of session control in the UDP layer, so we need to trust higher layers. So I would still say this is a very interesting layer from a security standpoint, and maybe the best example is DNS traffic. It's very easy to spoof a DNS request if you're on the same segment. You can listen for somebody who's asking you to go to Google or something other evil, and you can just give him the answer that Google is at the IP address of Bing instead. So it will be compliant from a Microsoft perspective. Or if he wants a, no, I'm not going to go there. I will not be back next year. Okay.
In the question part.
Yeah, in the question thing later.
Yeah.
Well, so if he by any chance would think Google was better, he could do vice versa, but nobody thinks that. So, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to show you a very nice tool that you can download from the internet for free. That's Engage Packet Builder. And that's quite an advanced solution because you can build packets that you can send to the network, and you can play with sequential number, with the data in it, and so on. You can perform something that is called Christmas attack. So Christmas means everything is shining and everything is glamorous. So we are using every possible flag that you can put on the packet, and that's called Christmas. And besides that, I've got here virtual environment with the checkpoint with the newest version running. It's nothing fancy in a checkpoint, it's just running, while I'm using here a monitoring interface that's called Smart View Tracker. And this is my attacker machine, and I will perform very small attacks, very common attacks, just to show you that Checkpoint, and not only Checkpoint, but for example TMG 2010, can discover such attacks very, very simply. And nowadays, I cannot say that you cannot harm yourself when you will be overusing transport layer, but in most cases, it's addressed from the security perspective. So, first of all, I will use a tool that's called Nmap, which probably everybody knows if you are playing with security. And SX, this is a Christmas attack, Christmas scanning. So I'm using whole flags here just to hit Checkpoint. And Checkpoint, that's my 10.10.10.10 address. So scanning is here, and if I will be back to Checkpoint and go to the last packet, probably you will see very, very soon that port scan is going on. As you can see here, that I was doing this before. I've done something that's called network quota violation because I've overused the number of connections that were defined on the checkpoint. It was defined here 50. And for example, I can send also something that's called large ping. which means that I will modify the data in ping inside. So we are waiting for the result, but in the other window, I will send a ping. Enter desktop and the head toolkit. Okay, and I will use again my memo pad to send some file, let's say smurf.txt, to our checkpoint solution. It's going here, and when we move back and go to the bottom, you can see that large ping is happening, some malware packet came, and so on. So transport layer, it's not very interesting from the security perspective. As I said, it was already addressed. You can easily discover everything that is going on this layer, so we are probably waiting for something new.
Well, there are still some exceptions. There was, like, for example, have you heard about the TCP split handshake attack?
That's brand new.
Yeah, it's a, you know, when you do a TCP connection, you're supposed to do a TCP three-way handshake, right? But you're sending SYN-ACK. So according to the RFC, it's still okay to send a SYN and an ACK in two different packets. So the whole, and firewalls aren't really thinking about that. So it's not really a way to break through firewall in the sense that you can hack the network because of that. But it has been around for a short time without the knowledge of the firewall makers. So people could actually use it for covered channels. They could access internal resources using this split attack, but they will only appear on a port. So if nobody understood the way the traffic was shaped, nothing bad would happen. But you could set up your own way of doing this channeling through a firewall if you have the client and the server. So it's like a covered channel. So there's still things happening where unexpected things are happening in the transport layer, absolutely. So next layer, session layer. This is a very important layer from the perspective that this is where we set up many times authentication, like we do NTLM connections, we do Kerberos and stuff. This is actually something that it deserves its own session, so I'm not going to do a lot of demonstrations here. I'm just going to stress the fact that NTLM is fairly weak from a today's standpoint when it comes to attack. You can do replay attacks, bounce forwarding attacks and stuff that you can do today that will work. So I would say move to Kerberos, but there are some things you can do with Kerberos as well. So if possible, use IPsec to really secure what's happening in this layer if you really want to be secure. Then you can provide strong authentication and protect the authentication thing going on in this layer. So that's basically what you should learn from this layer. Yes, if you don't think Kerberos is enough, you can use IPsec to secure it. And this will be your authentication for other services later on in higher layers. Presentation layer.
Yes, so everything that has in common with poor handling of data. So if your data is presented in an improper way, it's mostly about coding. You will notice that something is not proper. This is a presentation layer. So every time we, for example, play with data, put some large numbers of characters in the form fields, this is the presentation layer. So actually it depends mostly on web developers to handle the data very well. Countermeasures.
Countermeasures on the presentation layer. I mean, this is sanitizing input and stuff, and this is, you have to have cryptographic solutions in place. You have to have good encoding on different layers here that you might not think about. I can give you an example of a weakness in PHP. And this is in PHP itself. It's not in a web application or anything. This is a quick demo, a short example. And we're not attacking Windows because they're unhackable, so we're just going to attack Linux, okay? Yeah, that was funny. They are hackable, or sometimes, depending on. So I'm going to fire up a browser here, and I'm going to connect to a server. And this is only to show you the example. This is not a real server. I am connecting to a file system that is very basic. We created this application to show the problem. We're supposed to be able to get files from the server by naming the file here. This is a function. So if we, for example, add something like .txt, we will see that txt was already appended, so we actually appended an extra txt. I'm using debug so you can see the result. Normally, if you do an attack like this, you would have to brute force it blindly. So learning from this, I see that whatever I'm putting here, it will append .txt, right? So this is PHP on Windows, but the problem is in PHP. At least if you're using text files, not Windows, it's actually Linux in this case. So what if I do this? A null byte injection. And this is a problem in encoding. It will take me back. It will ignore the txt I did. And this is because this is a termination. The null byte is a termination thing, so it will terminate right here. And as a hacker, if I know that if I have an assumption that the text file is stored here in the file system, maybe I can move up along the file system and move to some other place and read other files, even though they are not txt. And this is because PHP is not handling the encoding correctly, so I can pass through this null byte. So in this case, what I could do is I could go back, and try to get the password file, for example. So back. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's your passwords. Back 1, back 2, back 3, back 4. No. Ouch! I did not do the null byte injection. Just checking that you're all here. Fantastic. And you might laugh about this. This sounds so simple, looks so simple. We had problems like this years ago with the decode and double decode exploits back on Windows 2000 on IIS. But this was also in .NET Framework not too long ago. So these are problems in this layer that, if not handled correctly, can be very, very dangerous. The password file is only an example. I can browse the entire file system from here.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, so this is just to understand this layer and what can happen here if you don't have all the controls in place. And of course, you could also do ACLing and stuff and say that the account that is running here is not allowed access to all these files. You can harden this in different ways if you don't trust that everything is always working the way it should. This is going pretty fast, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, we bullshit more. Should we make more bullshitting here, or?
I think it's enough.
Yeah, it's probably enough. Yeah, it's enough. That's a sign. She doesn't really like me. The date is not going that well.
It's going pretty good. I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit jealous now. That's her husband, by the way.
He got used to it.
Yeah, he gets used to it. Really?
Yeah.
If we provoke him?
I don't think that much.
Really? Are you sure? Just kidding. That's all. I'm not going to go further. I
I'm
want to have
blushing.
fun again. Yeah, maybe. We could have dinner sometime.
No, Marcus, that's enough.
The date is not going that well. I'm having fun right now anyway. I can watch the video over and over again, so. All I need.
All I need.
One day with a blonde on stage. Yeah.
Okay, application layer.
He's angry for real. I'm going to have to give him some chocolate. He's so red. Chocolate, okay? That would buy me like 5 minutes.
Oh, come on.
I mean, of joking. Yeah. Anyhow.
Give him a bar.
A bar. I only have one more left. This is kind of hurtful, but I think just to be safe, so I don't have to lock the extra lock on the door tonight. Here you go, man. Yeah, he's going to hit me in the head with it. Maybe you should hit me with one of these instead. It's nicer. There you go.
This would work.
So, the application layer, this is where everything happens. This is the most important layer today, I think. But it's still dependent on all the other layers. Because if the Georgian woman cuts your cable, whatever you're doing here is not going to work, right? So this is important. But this is also another layer where you can really put security in place. This is where you can do SSL and similar solutions and put real integrity and confidentiality solutions here. You can use certificates and stuff with SSL and other things. So this is an important layer. You have like 7 different layers, if we're not talking about people and politics and stuff like that you can use. All of these layers has to be secure from an availability or accessibility standpoint, but the best ones you have to implement integrity and confidentiality is an application layer and network layer. So those are your best options. So, what can go wrong here?
Authentication. Well, I mean, for example, using SSL. If somebody will tell you that SSL is secure, that's actually true. But with application that is badly designed, better check what is inside SSL tunnel. Because, for example, do you know LinkedIn? LinkedIn, right?
In English, it's LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
You know it? Not in American, in English. This is, yeah, okay. Anyhow, Andy asked me to say that. Andy Maloney there.
So if you are looking for a job, LinkedIn, that's perfect place, right? So if you are using SSL, LinkedIn in this case, this is I don't want to say bad, but if you look inside what is in HTTPS traffic, you will see that your password is actually not encrypted. That's pretty scary. Because in most cases, HTTPS traffic, it's being filtered by administrators, right? So what do they have? For example, access to your bank accounts, or maybe to LinkedIn account. Facebook is actually working pretty well. But in this case, linking, actually it's not. So make sure that when you, for example, arrive to some specific hotel, HTTPS traffic, it's not filtered. And when it is, think about some solutions like RDP somewhere and then use your bank account or any other profile, because password will be unencrypted in bad applications. Okay.
So, are you going to demonstrate this or not?
Yes, I'm going to demonstrate this, but
women, you can never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're happy about it?
No, I'm not very happy
You
about it.
like to mess with us or me or?
Anything here is working, but that's not a problem. I think you can start with your demo and we will continue with mine.
We can do that.
I'm that smart, you know?
Yeah, you are, actually. You're pretty smart. So, can you please turn to computer 2, Paula?
Yes?
Okay. I will actually do something here that is, it has not been demonstrated before, to my knowledge, on any TechEd. I'm not saying it's something that is new to the real hacker community, but there are no tools like this out there in public at all in the world today, as far as I know, and I know some things about this. So, what is the whole idea here? I can do this demo in 2 different ways, and I'm going to do it a little bit backward. And I think this will change your perception of behavior when it comes to HTTP, actually. I'm trying to raise the bar, raise expectations. We all trust SSL and good implementations for SSL for example, authentication, right? But just browsing the web, do you think we need SSL for that? 1 voice out of hundreds. Good job, man. You deserve some candy. Where are you? Raise your hand. Okay, everybody else, just protect yourself like this. Because that's far away, and usually I only give away to people in the front rows. Is it okay with everybody else? I know in this country you can get sued for less. Everybody, if this is okay, just raise your hands. It's not okay with you? Okay, I'm going to aim in this direction, okay. Yeah. I know you got hurt, but you didn't do this, so I warned you. Now, anyhow, I have a scenario here. Was the candy good, by the way? Yes or no? Oh, yes. I will give away more in next sessions, coming sessions. So, front rows, okay? I am sitting on the Red Hacker machine, and I am inspecting traffic, doing a man-in-the-middle attack. So I'm listening to whatever people are doing on the web protocol. So if this guy is browsing, he goes to whatever. Oh, sorry, he goes to Bing, of course. I would never go to Google. This was just Bing.com. Where is it? Bing.com, yeah. Yeah, you go to Bing, and then he will inspect this, and he will see that you're now on Bing, Bing.com here, okay? So he's inspecting traffic. So whoever is on this segment, he will know what's going on. This is obvious. It's HTTP, right? But this guy is a sysadmin, and he loves to download these best tools out there. And so sometimes he would love to go to his hero place, for example, sysinternals. And before he does that, I will turn on something else. I will run a netcat. If you don't know what that is the Swiss Army knife of TCP IP. So my netcat will listen to connections on port 4444. This is just demo. I could use any port of my choice. So the hacker is now inspecting traffic over the web on this segment, and he is also listening to hacked computers connecting back to him. Now let's see what we can do. The sysadmin, on the other hand, he gets bored with Bing because he knows where to go to get the juicy tools. He will go to the king of Windows place called live.sysinternals.com. And when he's there, he's going to choose between all these nice tools that you can use to run your network better. And I use these tools myself. They are the best, aren't they? Aren't they? It's Mark Rusinovich, guys. Give him a hand. The guy knows stuff. He made these tools, he and Bryce, okay? I love the guy. He's amazing. He is.
Pick Autoruns. That's very nice.
The what?
Autoruns.
Autoruns. Well, let's pick Autoruns. Autoruns. Okay, so I want to download Autoruns. Autoruns. So Autoruns, save. I'm going to save it to desktop. Yeah, I did it before, so I'm going to replace it. This is a new one, Autoruns. Download complete. Open folder. This is a Swedish time, but we can see here 2213, and we can look here 2213 on the same computer. This is a new file we just created, right? Let's go back to the attacker. Still listening. Did we do this from live sysinternals.com, yes or no? The answer is yes, just so you know, just to make it clear. I'm not spoofing the site. This is the real site. Trust me, I'm not lying. No, you will misunderstand the whole demo if you think I'm spoofing. I'm not. So let's run Autoruns. Let's just run it. Run. And check the other side. We can wait for Autorun. It's working, right?
Theoretically, nothing happens.
This is Autoruns, so we can use it. Let's check the other side. What happened? We're not listening anymore. We have a command prompt. And if we look at the command prompt, we do a host name. Client number 1, if I check my own host name on the attacker computer, I'm a different computer. If I do who am I? Whoa. Who am I? I'm the attacker. So if you ever find a computer with the attacker, that is the attacker, okay? If you do who am I? Look for him. Go to Laura Chappelle's sessions and look for the attacker in the Wireshark logs. If you find him, you know where he is. This is the administrator of a network is doing browsing. Not that you would ever do that, but I bet my life that many people downloading things from live sysinternals are admins or IT pros. You agree? And they run them on systems. So the question is, and nobody leaves the room until I explain this, because otherwise you're going to go crying to Mark and I'm going to take heat. So this one was Trojanized. Was it Trojanized while it was on the sysinternal site? No, it was not. I Trojanized it on the fly over the network. So whoever is downloading a binary over the network where I am using the TrueSec Nasty tool, which is just a tool, will have shellcode injected to their binaries. And basically, from a little bit simplified technical perspective, whenever you have a binary, it is a PE file, and there is a PE header that will give you the reference to where all the juicy binary data is in that physical file so you can execute it, right? What we are doing is we are injecting shellcode to slack space. There will be empty space somewhere in this file. We will put evil shellcode in there, and we will patch the binary header and tell it, go to the shellcode instead, run the shellcode, and then start the real binary. What is scary here is that we're doing it on the fly over the network. And this is absolutely not a Microsoft problem. This is a problem in HTTP. This is a proof of concept to show you that if you're using clear text, I can absolutely not only steal your credentials, I can also affect, for example, binaries or anything you download. So this is a very, very valid attack that nobody talks about, that hackers knows about. And it exists for real because you just saw it, and I'm not lying. Another interesting thing here is that Mark's binaries are actually signed. And I did get a warning, but you get a warning when you download stuff from the internet nowadays in your browsers. So it's nothing strange about that, but you will get warnings, because even though it was signed, it would not give me the real warning if it was signed. We have an implementation of the nasty tool where we are actually injecting and signing the binary with our valid certificate, just as a proof of concept. Of course, we will not give this tool away, but we can actually sign any binary if we pay like a couple of $100 for a code signing certificate. So for one attack, that is valid. Yes?
But once it's changed in transit, the hash is different. So if you check the hash...
Yes. The comment is, once I affect it, the hash will be changed. That is correct. So if you check your hashes, but this has to count for all the employees in your entire enterprise. Or maybe you should start looking at AppLocker. It's very hard to tell all the vendors in the world, all the websites, please only present your applications in SSL. Right? That's pretty hard. So this is a very important problem, and I think this is one of the maybe key demos in this whole session, to make you understand the importance of picking the right protocols for the right things. And if there is no protocol to help you, you need other security measures. In this case, maybe you cannot really trust the networking layer. Maybe you need to go to AppLocker or something similar. Or maybe you need user education or stuff like that. So I think that's big value.
So what is the countermeasure? Always check the signature of the application when you download it.
Yes, that would be the countermeasure for the skilled IT professional. I don't think you can expect a large organization that everybody will do that. But of course you can have soft policies, tell people they should not just execute stuff they download from the web. But you don't need to install anything, you're just downloading it.
Okay, so here we go with the web application. I'm using Fiddler. This is a free tool for HTTP debugging. It can also debug HTTPS traffic when you open Tools and Fiddler Options. And here you've got Capture HTTPS Connects. And you can, of course, decrypt the traffic and set up several options, including ignore certificate server errors. So here we go. I will press F12 just to start it running. And if I will be browsing the internet and open Bing one more time, you can see that traffic is going on. So let me enter LinkedIn web page. That's this one. And here is the message that users in most cases ignores. I know that probably you've heard this many times and many people repeat it and repeat it again, but we just click continue to this website because this is what we're going to have. We would like to browse the internet. So here we have LinkedIn web page, and I will sign in as Susanna. Just a second. Susanna Boss. And that's at live.com with the password and exclamation mark at the end. Yeah, we may not even remember the passwords, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So
she's trained. She don't want to remember the password.
that's our Susanna. She's very cute. But if you go here, you will probably see HTTPS traffic going on. So we may search for several strings. And I know her password, so you can just check the password here. And web forms, and I will mark this again. HTTPS, and the password should be somewhere here. Let's type it again. Where is the password? This is this one. Oh, I'm missing it. That's pretty interesting. I will go down and check it in. Oh yeah, that's this. Here it is. Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's the password, right? So in the LinkedIn, it's internal in the unencrypted way. So that's pretty scary because everybody that will decrypt your HTTPS traffic, so perform so-called man in the middle with the certificate, you will have your password sniffed. Okay, so let me show you another example.
Just before that, did we sniff SSL?
No.
No, we terminated SSL. We sniffed the clear text and we started a new SSL session. So that was not SSL sniffing. And this is a social engineering attack. If you can see the user, I mean, I think the browser community came a long way in doing the red signs and stuff. So it's really helping, but still, we see today when we do tests, security testing, penetration testing, that people are still falling for it. So there are absolutely something we should consider.
Yeah, okay, so here I've got the shop that is called Toys and Joys, and they are having a very nice PlayStations. What do you want to buy?
I want to buy something expensive.
Something expensive.
Yes,
So
I
maybe
wanna buy that one.
systems and accessories? What do you
Yes.
think? Yeah, but before we proceed, I've got several breakpoints set up here. So here we have PlayStation 3 Slim console.
You should buy an
and
Xbox. This is a Microsoft conference.
I don't know if they even have. I
No,
think they
we
don't.
would pay for an Xbox. We don't want to pay for a PlayStation, right?
Of course, we don't.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't want to pay for it.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I will click Buy Now, and I will switch back to Fiddler. And I will click Run to Completion. And one more time. And here you've got the certificate error, so continue to this website because we are performing HTTPS monitoring. I've got several breakpoints set up, so just to catch the proper moment.
And this time we don't care because we're inspecting ourselves. So this time we will ignore the warning. We don't care.
Yes, we don't care. Okay, this is the traffic going on. And this is actually what I wanted to see. So, what do you think about PlayStation? How much it's worth? $20?
Oh man, I would pay like
No,
two.
like-
How about you? How
Let's
much?
Let's put
Five.
one. 5?
We can have an auction here. Who want to pay the most? We can make some money here, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's
we can-
let's put 5.
Yeah, let's put 5.
I really
Well, they're
Minus-
filtering minus.
depends on the website, but
Yeah, they didn't used to do that. They implemented security controls. They're now filtering minus. They don't want to pay for giving us PlayStations anymore. They learned.
yeah. So here we've got 5. I will click Run to Completion, and ordering. It costs 5.
And you can take away the breakpoint now. Just
Yeah.
take it off.
Yeah, I will do this.
And you can change the number just to prove that this is
How many?
permanently temporary. This is going to be there for the whole session. So,
Let's support some school.
yeah, so recalculate.
Yes. And here we go. Do you like this?
Yeah.
This is a nice shopping.
So we didn't really proceed to checkout, if you know what I'm saying.
Next time I will do this with clothes.
Yeah, but I know in some European countries we don't have so much money, so there is a risk somebody would do this
Why are you pointing
from
to
their
me?
neighbor's open network,
You
of
mean-
course, wireless.
You mean Georgia?
Yeah, maybe. Or Georgia. This is Georgia. Somebody might be offended.
The other Georgia.
Yeah, okay, the other Georgia. Maybe somebody's from the other Georgia here.
I'm from Poland. I'm offended.
I know.
Okay.
So anyhow, let's get back to business. We only have like 4 more minutes.
Yes.
So let's wrap this all up. I mean, just to summarize by giving you the OSI model again, we just introduced some different examples of problems that you can have or identify. We talked a little bit about how you can look at these problems and implement the right solutions. This is a very brief session, but I'd like you to think about network security from a layered perspective. I think that is the biggest value to this session if you think about that. You have different layers and you can look at it from that perspective. Remember that you need to secure all these layers if you want access security. The fact that this site is going to be available. All these layers has to have the right controls in place. If you want confidentiality and integrity, you can use network layer and application layer.
Anyhow, TCP/IP it's 30 years old. So it brings us several vulnerabilities that are already addressed in the security environment. Still, probably, some of them will pop up. But if you perform some small hardening, like implementing IPsec or playing with your application security or implementing any other network-based solution, definitely you will go better. And you will improve the default options.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Fill out the evals later, wait, and wait, and wait, and wait.
And that's it.
And that's almost it. We have some sessions we want to announce before we say the formal thank you. Paula have a session today.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 10:15, it will be about unmasking administrators' evil. So if your admin is moving to the dark side, I will show you mostly the dark side.
Yes, I have a session on cloud security tomorrow at 1 something. It's a cloud security, a live analysis, and I will actually provoke the cloud in different ways to look at different areas that we are exposing ourselves in the cloud that we need to consider when we move to the cloud. So it's a challenging way of looking at cloud security. So I would recommend that session. I also have a session together with Hassan here, who is also called the Wolf. We will do a wireless security session. Also, that's going to be the last slot tomorrow. So I just want to say one thing. Me and Paula, we came a long way for this. She actually came all the way from Poland. We don't live here. I came from Sweden. We so much appreciate that you attended this session. This is our first co-session ever together, so it's kind of historic, at least for us. So thank you so much for attending.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.